What's up? Welcome back to my channel, or for the first time if you're new, I'm Sylvan, and today I'm going to be reacting to the Genshin Impact Transcendence trailer, Sudden Snow. I think this is our Shesnaya character teaser drop, and if the person in the thumbnail here is the Tsaritsa, I'm going to freak the fuck out. I've been anticipating this, I knew it was coming, but I'm excited. I cannot put it into words. I need to just get into it, so feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, leave a comment on your thoughts, consider becoming a channel member if you want to support me just that little bit extra, and let's get into this. What are these characters gonna look like? What's the vibe gonna be? Okay. Who are you?
The rules that govern this world are all essentially curses.
Ooh.
So to live by the rules
Who are
means to
you?
suffer under the sum of all curses.
That's a way to look at it.
Are you talking about the snowstorms? Or Project Stuja? Or the Tsaritsa?
Seems people aren't that pleased on the Tsaritsa,
Let's go
but know about Project Stuza.
before Lilac makes a move.
Lelik? Okay, that's a name I don't think we recognize. Ooh, who are you? It feels like we're gonna get some intrigue here. There's also all this, like, theatrical stuff, which, of course, with the Harbingers and such. Okay, so this is our sort of star, our performer. Interesting.
If it's true that rules are curses,
Ooh.
well then, there's only two options.
Assassinating someone during an opera? Oh, hello there! Who are you? What is this art style?
Either we overthrow the rules,
Also the music.
or... Are you
Okay.
going to say follow them? Get used to them? It's neither.
Like the spirit of a bear. I love it. I love this fight going on in the shadows. All these different
We find a
assassins and
way.
guards and
To transcend the rules.
transcend them. That sounds very fitting for what we know of the Tsaritsa's
Regarding
plan.
the motion to extend Project Stuja,
Oh?
if there are no further objections.
I have an objection!
Oh.
Me too.
I object!
People are not happy with Project Stuja. Also love to see all the Harbingers.
Oh my.
Are the rules becoming... Ooh, who are you? A Fae, I imagine?
We are the Druzhna. It is
Druzhna.
our honor to serve the Tsaritsa.
Okay, like the military or something? The guard? Interesting. We're getting a lot of interesting pieces here. Ooh. Hello there.
Forgive the intrusion. Mind if I join
A bit
this
of like a
private
maid
discussion?
character, but clearly more than just that. Ooh, what is
Compared
this?
to the eons gone by.
Who are
This
you?
is a peaceful
Who are
age.
you? Oh, I love your vibe. I'm guessing some kind of Fae again. Oh, I'm loving all these designs. Who is this?
Wait, the Kresnik's torch?
Resnick's torch. What is... Ooh, there's so many little tidbits. Is that in the sky? What is that in the sky? Also, just that frozen palace is great.
And then
Renova?
the heavenly principle spoiled our love.
What is Renova doing in here? What? Oh? Oh? Cutting someone out of the picture,
Mother?
the end of a life.
I almost doubt whether it was ever true at all.
Oh. Ooh. Oh, this has to be the Tsaritsa in this. Oh, this is so interesting if that is. If this is the Tsaritsa, this is so interesting. Those she loved being lost. The god of
One should
love
not
losing
throw
all of her
fragile
love.
driftwood to a drowning person, nor give the illusion of warmth to those freezing to death. Death is not the enemy of love.
Okay.
The real enemy is the blessings given by deluded gods.
The lies, the lies given by the gods, the false blessings, all the gnosis. Oh, this is so big. This is so hype. Do they have the Ooh, the cryo-gnosis.
Good move. Still, I do hope you truly understand the nature of the game you're playing.
Wait. Rhindodeer? Oh, fuck. Not just Renova, but Rhindodeer as well. There is so much here, not just like character introduction-wise, though that in itself is really interesting, but also lore and sort of narrative and themes-wise. Because always these trailers have pointed towards the general vibe and theming of a part of the story, of the patch cycle. Whether it's been something like Fontaine with deception and lies and trickery that then tied into the nature of everything surrounding Focalor and Farina, or even just Linny and Lynette, or concepts of truth and wisdom in relation to Sumeru stuff. There's always been that sort of theme that we get introduced to in these trailers. And the one that I pick up most here is the idea of rules. It's introduced very early on, and it can be tied in to some of these later things the Tsaritsa is speaking about, with the blessings of deluded gods and comparing them to sort of false protection and guidance. But to start at the beginning rather than jumping straight into that, the beginning is rather fittingly a very good place to start with this idea. We are introduced to this new character who, based on the next scene they're in, seems to be some kind of performer, some kind of singer or whatever, which that as a character makes sense quite a bit for Snezhnaya, given that we have often heard, especially recently with the previous animated short, of there being a big theater, and also just the whole theatric vibe of the Harbingers in their whole aesthetic, with the Commedia dell'arte stuff. So her as a character conceptually makes a lot of sense for this. Good to see it, but she brings up the idea of the rules. The idea that rules that govern this world are all essentially curses. And what are the rules that govern this world? Who put those in place? The heavenly principles, the gods, the laws of this world. Those are nothing but curses from a certain point of view. And so if you live by those rules, you suffer all of those curses. To be ruled, to be subjugated, is to suffer curses. It's an idea that immediately can be applied to pretty much every layer of what's going on in the story in Snezhnaya, so far from our understanding. Because as I've been immediately applying it, it can go to the grandest level of the gods and Celestia and heavenly principles, and that is where I believe the Tsaritsa is looking, the rules that she seeks to break free from, the curse that she seeks to banish. But then this guy, Alyosha, if I'm to trust the order of appearances of characters in the description, compares what she's saying more so to the state of Snezhnaya itself, more specifically. Whether it be the snowstorms, which sort of rule the land, you could say. It's a natural occurrence that forces people to act a certain way. Project Stuja, which is something instead enforced by the Tsaritsa and the Harbingers, something that evidently we see throughout this, people are not happy with, another rule that has turned into a curse, or the Tsaritsa herself. She has created rules and laws that turn to curses for her people. So immediately we get this thematic concept that rules are curses, and several things impose rules. And to the people of Snezhnaya, like these two, and inevitably a few others, the rules that they are cursed with are imposed by the Tsaritsa and the Harbingers. But we know, and see a bit later, that the reason for these rules being put in place by the Tsaritsa and the Harbingers is, at least ultimately, for the goal of breaking free of the rules of the heavenly principles, of Celestia, of the shades, of things like death and time. So everyone is attempting to break free of these rules, of these curses, but it becomes rather ironic that those in power that are trying to break the greater rules apply these curses to those they rule. But to hone back in a little bit, rather than responding directly to the clarifying question of Alyosha, who I presume is Vodyanitsa, simply says, "Let's go," before Lelik makes a move. immediately setting up another thing that thematically seems like is going to be the case in all of Chesnaya is political intrigue. There are several different groups working in the shadows against each other, whether it's the Harbingers, these two versus whoever Lelik is, perhaps the man we see later with the bear iconography that gets in the way of the assassination attempt in a minute. Whoever it may be, there are a lot of different factions at play here that don't all necessarily agree on what to do or who should be in charge or what is best for Chesnaya, and are fighting each other in secret or politically, or perhaps in some cases overtly, but it sets up this political intrigue of that immediately here. This is then backed up further with the introduction of this character, who, with her twirling out the knife and partially being in shadow, immediately is given the vibe of an assassin. But then it shifts over to showing the beginning of a performance, which Alyosha is using as an opportunity to assassinate this guy, or at least attempt to. And interestingly enough, this guy resembles, at the very least, if not is the same person, as the first man to object to Project Stuja's extension in the later scene, implying potentially that Alyosha is aligned with the Harbingers and the Tsaritsa to, in this case, sort of control the political movement of whatever is going on with Project Stuja. But who knows? There might be a variety of reasons why they want this guy dead, but it's just an interesting detail, I know. Either way, though, we continue getting narration from Vodyanica, presumably, continuing the idea of rules being curses, and stating that if that is the case, there really are only two options, two ways for us to move forward, knowing that we are controlled by curses. Either we overthrow the rules, get rid of them, destroy them, live free from these curses, or we find a way to transcend them. They must either be destroyed or transcended. We must break them or move beyond them. There is no world where we are willing or capable of living with these rules, with these curses. And it even sort of mocks that idea that it would be possible to accept these rules, to live within these rules moments prior, which is really interesting and once again can be extrapolated all over the place through Chesnaya with the Tsaritsa, with the Heavenly Principles and Celestia, with what we can sort of intuit from probably what she's trying to do, but also all the way down to this more base level in Chesnaya. But then jumping back a moment, we, as this narration is happening, have this guy get in the way of Alyosha's attack on this man, this assassination attempt, which then blows out into this really interesting, stylistically speaking, fight between them, where it's very much feeling more so sort of interpretive and metaphorical, as Alyosha pulls his hood up and calls these wolves to him. Only for this man, which I'm not entirely sure what his name, because I don't know if the characters listed with the voice actors in the description are by appearance or by first, spoken lines, because he doesn't really have an initial spoken line, so it's hard to say. But regardless, he fights back, initially just literally with his blade, but then begins to take on the visage and appearance of a bear or summon a bear or whatever. So we're getting this sort of animalistic, metaphorical combat between them, which is really fun visually. But then, despite the fact that the battle between those two is ongoing, suddenly the assassin woman from earlier that we only got the first introduction glimpse of comes in for the same target. Perhaps a third party, perhaps incentive on Alyosha's side, who knows? Once again, it builds the intrigue going on. And we don't exactly see if she goes for the kill here, just that she gets to him and has a blade at his throat, which could mean that either she just threatens him into doing something like objecting against Project Stuja, or the person who objects to Project Stuja in the next scene and this person are entirely different, and it's just this guy got killed, the other resembles him for whatever reason. There's a lot of white hair so far in Chesnaya, it seems. Moving on, though, we then enter the scene I've been referencing with all of the presumably council members or whatever objecting to the extension of Project Stuja, something that we obviously don't know the full details of, but we've heard about Project Stuja for a while, and we easily can intuit here that Project Stuja is something that the people of Chesnaya, or at very least the sort of council people or whatever, have been sort of discontent under. There's this growing agitation that then is bubbling over now in a way that seems to even surprise the Harbingers. But another thing, of course, this scene does is introduce us to all the Harbingers who will likely be involved in the story, being pretty much all of the surviving ones. We have Arlecchino, we have Sandrone, we see Child for a moment, Pulsalena and Pantalone are both there, of course. Interestingly enough, the only one that is still like an active surviving member that we don't see in any of this trailer is Piero, the man who effectively has been the face of the Harbingers and the Fatui and Chesnaya to a degree for us, the players, for so long, is not present in the trailer introducing Chesnaya. Instead, the Tsaritsa sort of takes his role. Presumably that isn't meaning that he won't be around or involved, but rather that his role may be different than what we might expect, or that he might really only become important later on. It's hard to say, but it's an interesting detail that he is not featured here as far as I can tell. Moving on though, we then are introduced to another new character and new faction effectively, being the Druzhna, and who is presumably their leader. This woman, which seems to be a fae of some kind, given the sort of wings on her back that fold back in and the pointed ears, but it is made very clear by her opening statement and the general aesthetic of these people that they are the guards or military of Chesnaya itself, where the Fatui are more sort of the like KGB or something like that. This would be much more the internal Chesnaya military force or like city guard or whatever it ends up actually specifically being. Either way, it is a combative entity that is aligned with the Tsaritsa, and it seems that this character at the very least is more than happy in her position of service. We then continue to be introduced to new characters, including this one who seems to be more of a sort of maid-esque design and vibe, but is very clearly more than just that. Perhaps she is a maid, but is representing someone and is thus doing some infiltration slash attack here, slash forcibly gaining entry to this discussion for some greater reason for their master. Who knows? But it once again is another implied faction or piece of political intrigue, and also just a sort of interesting design. We then get introduced to what design-wise might be one of my favorite characters from this trailer. This man with red and black hair who seems to sort of walk out of this almost sort of void space, talking about the eons gone by and how comparatively this is a very peaceful age, implying that he is very old and very knowledgeable. The pointed ears once again point me to the idea of him being a fae, so very much like someone like Flynn's, he very likely has been around for a long time and has seen the changing of eras. Interestingly enough though, I'd be very curious to learn more about him, beyond just the fact that I like his vibe and design, but if you look at his neck, look at that symbol on his neck, those sort of four-pointed stars in a line of three, that's very much resembling a certain shade that we know and the visualizations of her appearance. Is it possible that this man is either affiliated with Asmodee or has been in some way cursed by Asmodee, had a rule enforced upon him? Perhaps in a previous age, he was a fae who fought against Celestia and was punished for it in some way, or once again, perhaps it is a symbol of affiliation, or I could just be insane and doing crazy crack theories right now, but I can't help but look at that and think Asmodee. Either way though, really like this guy's vibe. Next up we get this guy who seems interesting. I like the vibe. He has a bit of the sort of astral galaxies aesthetic to him, it seems. He seems to be some kind of scholar, perhaps, as he's reading through books in front of this grand machine, seems to come to some kind of revelation about the Kresnik's torch, whatever that is. If that's something we know about, I completely have forgotten what that is. But then, having largely finished with the new character introductions, we pull out to see a version of the city completely encased in ice. Perhaps a vision of what is to come or what could happen to Chesnaya, but then is where we enter the real lore section for me, with the appearance of Renova and the beginning of who I believe to be the Tsaritsa talking. We immediately get some implications of what kind of person the Tsaritsa is and why she has turned her spear towards Celestia. The heavenly principles spoiled our love. She was the goddess of love, as far as we understand it. And now we see none other than Renova, the shade of death, holding a picture of a sunny day with a woman and her child on a bench and cutting a part off. Something I intuit to be that perhaps there was a man, the father of this child there, who has been removed from this picture, killed by Renova and the heavenly principles, taken out of reality perhaps even, torn away from this woman. And then we step into this picture, into this memory, seeing how whatever it is Renova and the heavenly principles did, it impacts reality here, warps the memory, distorts anything that comes close to the cut off part of that picture. Speaking to me once again as the idea that whoever was on the other side of that picture has been removed from reality, erased from existence, perhaps someone who cannot even be remembered by those who loved them. And this is backed up by this next line. I almost doubt whether it was ever true at all. A part of her life, a part of her memory has been excised forcefully by the heavenly principles and Renova. Her life, her love had been destroyed and completely eradicated by forces beyond her control, to the point that even when she thinks back to it, even when she recognizes the empty space, the lost love, she cannot fully guarantee that it was ever real. And it's with this that we get the more proper reveal of who this is, what the design is, and the fact that this is almost secretly the Tsaritsa. And even in this distorted memory, in this destroyed memory, she reaches out to pat her child's head, and he turns to ice under her touch. Something that seems to surprise her, but not nearly as much as I would expect from someone who suddenly started freezing their own child. But even still, the ice begins to form around her from around her feet as well. It speaks to me that this is a memory or a metaphorical reminiscing that has played in her head time and time again. The surprise is there, but it is well known. The loss of her presumably husband and child is something constantly playing in her mind, or at least the loss of the child and the echo of what's been lost of the father. And it's with this that she looks to the void, the distorted mass that is replacing what should be there, the love that should be there, and she clenches her fist. And with that, she begins walking forward through this snowstorm within the middle of the city as she begins to state her beliefs. One should not throw fragile driftwood to a drowning person. Do not give them momentary hope that they can survive with your aid before they realize that the driftwood will just break underneath their weight and give them no safety. Similarly, you should not lie to someone and give the illusion of warmth as they freeze to death. Lies and deceit are nothing but cruelty. Death is not the enemy of love. This one line puts so much into context for me. It implies so much. In relation to the previous stuff we were just getting, it speaks to me that perhaps her husband or whoever it was she loved and her child died and were lost. And whether it was for some specific unique reason, or perhaps a foolish begging and wish from her to the heavenly principles to let her escape this grief. Who knows? But for whatever reason, Renova and the heavenly principles attempted to remove the existence of that love. And like I was implying with my previous thing about perhaps she asked for this foolishly, perhaps it was because she was in grief. Perhaps it was a twisted attempt from the heavenly principles to free her from her grief, not realizing that at least in time, the Tsaritsa would far more value the love with the grief than the absence of it at all. Death is not the enemy of love. To have loved and lost is not a bad thing. It is better to have done so than had nothing at all. That is what this speaks to me as. So if death is not the enemy, what is it? The real enemy is the blessings given by deluded gods. This as well is what points me to the idea that the eradication of this person who presumably the Tsaritsa loved was some kind of deluded, twisted attempt at a blessing. And it would be this, in my mind, that turned the Tsaritsa against Celestia. And it's this that ties into everything earlier in the trailer. This is a curse, a rule that was forced upon her. Reality was changed around her in a way that she refuses to accept, and thus she seeks to either destroy or transcend this rule, to regain that lost love, at least the memory of it. That is what motivates the Tsaritsa, which perfectly ties into her being the goddess of love. After all, what is more dangerous and determined than someone who has their loved ones threatened? It immediately contextualizes so much for me, and I really like it. That's not the end. It's then after that scene with Renova looking down at the Tsaritsa who has her weapon ready that we return to the chessboard, something we have seen since Winter Night's Lazo. This time, though, all but one Gnosis lands on the board, or on the side of the board. They are one away from their completed plan. Or perhaps, depending on what exactly happened to the Pyronoses, perhaps they already have achieved the requirements of the plan. As at the end here, we have some interesting implications with the people at the board playing the game being the Tsaritsa, of course, and Reindodir, the Shade of Life. And it's here that Reindodir acknowledges that she is impressed by the moves that the Tsaritsa is making, but asks questions. Does she truly understand the nature of the game she's playing? A very interesting question for a variety of reasons, because I think it can be taken in a variety of ways. This is specifically Reindodir who is saying this. She, of course, is acting in some way, shape, or form as the Shade of Life, of course, but she is also the one person we know of, other than, of course, the sinners in their own way, who has actively transcended the rules. She has become part of the Shades, part of those who define the world. She may still not have fully transcended them, but she has come farther than anyone else. So in a way, she can probably see what the Tsaritsa is doing, and if not agree with it, relate to it, or respect it. So with that in mind, this very much could be a contemporary, essentially, saying, I've played this kind of game before, it's a dangerous gambit, you need to know what you're getting into. Or it could be her in her position as the Shade of Life, saying, you don't know who you're going up against, you're gonna lose if you aren't aware of what's going on. So it could either be a threat as the opponent the Tsaritsa is playing against, or a piece of advice as someone who had been in a similar spot as the Tsaritsa before. It's very interesting, and a very interesting note to end the trailer on. There's so much, there's so many good sort of thematic ideas and vibes going on here, and just so much lore potential here. Love all the characters so far. Really interested to learn more about them, learning more about what's going on, see some of the characters we've already met before, see more of just everything. It is incredibly exciting. But with that, I think I will leave things there. There is so much here, but I gotta stop at some point. So feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, leave a comment on your thoughts, and very special thanks to all of my channel members, including Amor Basilica, Dweller, and Pokelove 101 at the normal tier, and Eliolith and Kano Nano at the cool person tier. Really appreciate your support, as always, and I hope you all have a great day. Bye-bye!